In this video today, I'm going to show you how I made this anamorphic text and how I printed this on my Bamboo Lab P1S 3D printer. And so let's begin. Okay, I've opened up Tinkercad in my browser. I'm going to come up here to create, and we're going to create a new 3D design. The first thing I'm going to do is change the view to orthographic. And also I'm going to change the name up here to something that I can recognize. Now I'm going to create a couple of files that I've downloaded, or I'm going to import a couple of files that I've downloaded from the internet. The first one is this duck. Now it's quite huge. I'm using my scroll bar to scroll down. I'm going to make this 15 by 15. And I need to get this back to the work plane. And then the height, I also want to be 15. So the dimensions of my duck is 15 by 15 by 15. Then I'm also going to import a file that I had downloaded as just a JPEG file. Then I used an image editing program to do an outline of it. And then I created an SVG from that. And I'm going to rotate this so that it's slightly horizontal. And we'll push that up out of the way. Next, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select letters and numbers. And I'm going to look at the letters. And I am going to bring in the word symphony. So this is the main words. And then when you flip it, you're going to see the secondary words, which in this case is going to be OTS for of the seas. Then I'm also going to change to numbers, and I'm going to put the date. Now I want to resize all these letters and numbers to 15 by 15 by 15 millimeters. So the easiest way to do that, I'm going to move the duck out of the way. And I'm going to select all of the letters, and I'm going to change the height to 15 millimeters. And now I can individually set each of the letters to 15 by 15 for the width and the height, or the width and the depth. Okay, now that they're all set 15 by 15, we are going to align them all on the grid. And so I'm going to start with the back one here, and I'm going to put them in a corner here of a 20 by 20 grid. And you can see the outline of the letter. You want those to be exactly on the line. And so the next one I'm going to put in the next 20 by 20 grid until they're all placed. Okay, and then we are going to do the same with the bottom row now. Okay, I'm going to bring in my view here. We're going to come back to basic shapes, and we're going to drag in a box. We are also going to size it to 15 by 15 by 15. All right, and then we'll just, we'll just kind of get this out of the way. All right. Now, what we're going to do with the letters, we're going to select the back ones and we're going to rotate them forward 90 degrees, and the same with these. So now the letters are facing forward. Now the back ones, we are going to rotate counterclockwise 90 degrees, each of the letters one at a time. So now the letters on the back row are facing this way. Now we are going to select all of these back letters and we are going to change them to a whole. Now we're going to zoom in. We're going to take our square and we are going to completely overlay it. We want to make sure it's exactly in our 20 by 20 grid, just like we did the letters, and that it is completely overlapping. Now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to type Control D on the keyboard. Then we're going to use the arrow keys on the keyboard to move the duplicate over to the next square so that it completely overlaps. Then you're going to do Control D again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, until you've got all of the back row. Now we're going to select one at a time. You're going to group them. So you'll select both of these. Then you're going to select the back row and you're going to make it into a whole. Now you are going to take the bottom row, you're going to use your cursor control keys, and you're going to perfectly align it on the grid at the top. And to make sure, you may want to zoom in to make sure that you are completely aligned, which you can see here, the outline is following the grid lines. Then once you've done that, one at a time, you're going to select it and group. And so now we've got our one word, and you can't really see it this way because they're not lined up yet. So we're going to take our first letter and just drag it down somewhere. And you're going to zoom in really close here, and we're going to see, look at the outline here of this letter, and you're going to place the next letter 1 millimeter up and 1 over. So the corner of the next letter is going to be right where my cursor is. So let's bring this down, and once again, this is where this one is ending, so you want the corner of the next letter to be right here. So it'll be just like that. So this one is there, and this one is there. So they're 1 millimeter apart. And you're just going to repeat that now with the rest of them. Okay, and then once you have all of those selected, now we're going to select them all and we're going to group them. And then we are going to rotate them until they're horizontal, about like that. And so now when you look at it from this way, it's symphony. And when you look at it this way, it's of the Seas to 2026. Now we're going to bring in our ship. And we're going to want to size the ship so that it fits. So while I'm holding down the Shift key and I've got the ship selected, I'm going to size it until the letters fit on it. So I'm going to look at the top view and maybe a little bit bigger, about like that. Looks good. And then I'm going to need to readjust the height of the ship. I want it to be about 10 millimeters. And then I'm going to select my letters And since this is 10 millimeters, I want the letters to be about 1.5 millimeters deep. So I'm going to click the work plane tool and drag it on top of the ship. Then I'm going to select my letters and type D to bring it up to the level of the ship. Then I'm going to reset my work plane by just dragging it down. Now I'm going to want to sink these letters an additional 1.5 millimeters down. So I'm going to go minus 1.5. And that looks good. So we've got Symphony and of the Seas 2026. And then from the top view, we've got the ship. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to group it. And now we can export. We're going to export as an STL. Okay, now I've got Bamboo Studio open. I'm going to click on the Prepare tab. I'm going to use the 0.2 millimeter standard. I'm going to be printing this out on my P1S. And for strength, I'm going to increase the wall loops to 6 because I want those letters to be as strong as possible. I like to change my infill pattern to gyroid. And we also want to make sure that we are going to enable supports. And we're going to use tree supports. So now I'm going to come up to File and Import. And we're going to import our STL file that we just made. And let's slice it to see how it looks. Now let's look at the line type so that we can see where the supports are going to go, because we want to make sure that we've got supports that are going to support all these overhangs. Now, one thing I've noticed lately since the latest updates and firmware updates for Bamboo Labs, the supports have started becoming very, very difficult to remove. So I am going to set my top Z distance to 0.4. And I'm going to put the support object XY distance to 0.5. And hopefully that will make it a little easier to remove the supports once this is printed. Then I'll reslice it. I want the base to be one color and the letters to be another. So I am going to print the bottom here. So I need to change my filament. So currently this is what I've got in my AMS, which I've got connected. I'm going to use the white and the gray. And so I am going to want to synchronize my AMS filament. So I'm going to make the ship gray, so I am going to first make everything gray. Then I'm going to go ahead and slice it. Now when the letters start, I want the letters to be white. And so I'm going to see exactly where the letters are starting. So at level 51, that appears to be only the letters. Let's see level 50. Okay, level 50 is still coloring in the ship. So to be on the safe side, I'm going to start the colors at layer 52. So I'm going to right click on this little plus sign and I'm going to change the filament and we're going to change it to the white. And then I'll go ahead and drag this all the way up and we're going to slice the plate. So now if we change this to filament, you can see how it is going to change the color from gray to white. And this right here is the prime tower. You want to keep the prime tower because when you change from the gray to the white, it's going to prime between so that the flow is ready and the pressure is ready to start printing the white for the letters. So now we're ready to go ahead and send this to the printer. So I'm going to print the plate. It's confirming which filaments in my AMS I want to use. I'm going to go ahead and record a time lapse and we'll send this to the printer. And here's the final result. And I will admit those supports were a bugger to get rid of. It took quite a bit of sanding and poking to get the supports out and get it as clean as I could. But this is the final product, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.